officially launching the new name for our institute, the UQ-Exeter Institute, and the fabulous new branding that's been created to go alongside of that. We've been working together with a shared vision to address global challenges, to drive innovation and to cultivate the next generation of research leaders. Together, we've secured more than 30 million Australian dollars in competitive external funding, and we've produced around 300 joint papers. So it just shows that the partnership really creates impact. So the exciting new brand, the UQ-Exeter Institute, will hopefully make it much easier for global audiences to immediately recognise the two world-class universities who are the driving forces in this partnership. We bring different perspectives to the table. We enrich debate and broaden the range of lived experiences that shape the research that we do and the teams that we build. And of course, our participation ensures that women's issues are not marginalised in research outcomes. It's also true to say that women researchers at senior levels are important role models for the next generation. I think the importance of having a mentor who will champion you throughout your career, and that mentor may change over time. I still have a mentor that I've been supporting me, I guess, for the last sort of 20 years, but someone who will challenge you as well and encourage you to sometimes take a leap and step into something that you may not think that you're ready for. Be authentic. Don't try and change the way you are in your leadership. I remember very early on in my career in industry, I was told I should be more aggressive in my leadership style. That's not the way I am, and that's not the way I want to lead any organisation.
When we come together, we can, of course, be more than the sum of the parts. When women are fully represented, the work that we do at our universities is more relevant and its impact is deeper. When I was completing the final year of my PhD, I can vividly recall telling my supervisor, I was right at the end, that I was pregnant and expecting my first child. Now, he was someone I considered to be reasonably, very open-minded and forward-thinking, and I was expecting him to respond somewhat positively, but instead he did look completely stunned and he remained speechless for quite a while, which was really out of character. But then eventually he said, "You'll never make it in academia. It's impossible." Now, if I'd taken his response seriously, that moment could have derailed my career before it had even started. But instead, I guess I saw it as a challenge. We have a responsibility to make it easier for women who follow us. I often talk about sponsorship as well. It's mentoring and providing advice is absolutely critical right through your career. But sponsorship, putting people up for different opportunities, thinking about what they may do and what may benefit them, being part of a seminar, being nominated for an international experience, that's critical as well. What's been achieved so far through our institute is inspiring. We're working together to build a community of researchers who are now tackling some of the world's most complex problems, including climate change, AI, and ageing populations. These are problems that are too large for one university or even one country to solve alone. They're problems best solved through working together across disciplines and by supporting each other through collaboration. As we all know, collaboration increases our chances of finding solutions. It brings in voices that might otherwise go unheard, and it creates the global network and introduces us all to international colleagues who you'll be able to draw on. So as we begin this next chapter as the UQ-Exeter Institute, I know that by working together, we will continue to make an impact.
I want to tell you a story today about the people who are pictured here. So there's my research team at the top, And then Dave Evans' research team at the bottom there at UQ. I'm interested, and my team are interested, in how babies grow. We're trying to understand what influences the growth of a fetus in utero. The motivation for this is that babies who are born very small or very large are often at a greater risk of complications around the time of pregnancy and delivery. Those differences in birth weight can actually relate to differences in health risks later in life. The reason we want to use genetics to understand birth weight is that this amazing kind of genetic code that's written, that's the recipe for making us humans, those variations between individuals can give us insight into what would happen if we could disrupt a particular biological pathway. And we think that by studying genetic differences between people, we can get these insights into what it is that's helping the babies to grow, and then hopefully understand how that might lead to pregnancy complications or disease. We had this problem in that we had the ability to look at birth weight in large numbers of people. We could see associations between genes in the baby, for example, and birth weight, but we couldn't really tease apart whether the genetic effects we were observing were maternal or fetal. So that's where statistical modelers like Professor Dave Evans and his colleague Dr. Nicole Warrington from the University of Queensland came in. That led to us being able to, within a large consortium of researchers called the Early Growth Genetics Consortium, to carry out what was the largest at the time genome-wide association study of birth weight, which helped us to identify lots of regions of the genome where there were genetic variants telling us something about the biological influences on birth weight. The funding initially from the Accelerator Award, which enabled that method to be developed, has resulted in both of us achieving successful funding applications for very large grants that have helped us to further develop this work. Of course, it's not just my career that this work and this collaboration has supported. As I mentioned, we were successful in 2020 in being awarded a UQ-Exeter Institute PhD studentship. It's not just birth weight that this method can help. It's any pregnancy-related trait or disease where you might have maternal and fetal genetic effects that you want to unpick. Caitlin now has a postdoc in her home town in a research program called Healthy Cities, Healthier Lives, which is at a research centre focused on health equity, and she's really keen for a career in public health. Our accelerator grant actually originally supported Rob to present at a conference in Melbourne in 2019, and also to spend some time in the Evans lab. Rob has secured an Exeter BRC translational fellowship, and Nicole has an NHMRC of emerging leadership. My team are getting really interested in a condition called preeclampsia. It's a serious condition that affects 1 in 50 pregnancies. Precisely what causes preeclampsia in the majority of cases is still unknown. Our work recently is suggesting that a higher risk of preeclampsia may actually be caused by placentas that grow bigger. Now, there are many factors that affect the risk of preeclampsia, but we think this is an acknowledged potential cause of preeclampsia. We think that actually the role of the fetus, independently of the mother, and the growth of the fetus and placenta could be something that is worth focusing research efforts on in the future. Neither of these pieces of work would be possible without the ability to statistically tease apart maternal and fetal effects in our studies. The statistical method that was developed is absolutely key to these new observations on placental weight. Our accelerator grant and PhD studentship funding has led to an enormous number of successes, and really the work is still growing. Problems that we've tackled, neither of us would have been able to tackle them alone. It's needed that complementary expertise.
It's about the project as well as you as a researcher. So you have to kind of be flexible, look at what's happening, see what you can apply for, build those connections and work from there. Either slowly learning to build the confidence to advocate for myself, but before that, finding other people who would advocate for me. There are lots of people out there who will advocate for you, who will mentor you, who will help you, who will support you. You have to kind of build your community around you. You have to have your peers.
Really, I've spent all my career in male-dominated environments. It's true that the number of females has increased over the decades I've been working, but I still find myself being the only female in many of the meetings I attend. I think my main challenge over time has actually been my confidence. And Lisa mentioned this earlier, that women don't tend to put themselves forward as much, and that's certainly been true in my case. So having the conviction to put myself forward for promotion, and earlier on to promote my research ideas and ideas for doing things. Over time, my confidence has really increased, and that's been helped by my colleagues. I think also by not being afraid to ask questions and ask for help when it's needed. And also by, I guess, getting older and having achievements. So getting the papers published, doing the things I really want to do in my career. I really now always raise the issue of the lack of women when I see it. So if I'm in a meeting or in a group trying to get a research grant going and I'm the only woman, I say, look, we need more women.
Explicit support was important for my career development, but the tacit support, that encouragement and confidence that others showed in me was, I feel, perhaps the most important, because my own confidence in my abilities so often risks being the limiting factor.
I would find myself in spaces where I was one of the very few women that were there, and it was not something that I was, I had some background knowledge that this could be the case, but then it was also very daunting, especially being in a classroom and just being the only probably international student or only female student in those spaces. I've been fortunate to be around people who always advocate for me or push me to be a better version of myself, or take those risks, do those presentations, even though they might be very daunting, very scary, or write that paper, present at that conference. And I found that with encouragement and also with pushing myself, I became more comfortable with the person. Opportunities like this, I try to embrace them as much as I can.
Having a research group composed of people at different career stages, including me, linked with a WhatsApp group means that you by nature have people from different places. So in my research group, I think we've got 7 countries represented, different genders. So immediately there's a source of conversation, a safe place to practice doing presentations, and then the development of a social group. So it gives a really safe place for people to build confidence, and then to get out and do things together and bring other people in.
ECR should have the confidence just to reach out to people in their field and say, I'm working on this. Where can I take this? Do you have any advice? And most people will be willing to share.
Try and ensure that leaders within those environments represent as broadly as possible the group that they are leading or want to lead, whilst I wouldn't think twice about saying, oh, I will do that. Or being the first one to offer to take notes in a session, because that's, as I was progressing through my career, if I was the female in the room, I was so often told that I was taking notes, for example, and so I think just to recognize that it's the really small things like that as well, that obviously the big things are important, but the small things also are, they sort of can grind you down like that. Making offers to do things that you see that women are automatically expected to do, for example, or just being in that place to, if you recognize that, say, some of the males are putting themselves forward but the females might not be. So I think it's for me, it's the small things are a really good start and are actually really important.
Just a lot of unconscious bias around, both in females and in males. So I think if males are prepared to sort of treat us as equals as much as they possibly can, while recognizing that we are women and we do have different things. We have our time of the month, we have different things that we have to deal with. Step up for the jobs that you might not always want to do, just put yourself in there as female. And I think that's helped me a lot.
We've already talked about the confidence issue where sometimes we feel like, oh, we are not supposed to say certain things or we shouldn't speak up. And in that kind of case, having male colleagues who would support you and, you know, still advocates like, okay, this is what this person did, and just sharing more of what we women are doing could be a very good way to encourage others to continue to show up for themselves and to do like good work.
One of the things that we realized in our department was that there had been an unconscious, fully unconscious move in the kind of departmental planning of having women doing the more of teaching roles and men doing more of the research role. The head of department, who was male at the time, was informed of this and was horrified and immediately took action to rectify that. One of the things that we've noticed and has really made a difference is that in terms of research collaborations and research mentoring, is not just having male colleagues automatically building research grant applications and connections with junior male colleagues whom they went to the pub with, but actually reaching out and build these connections and being willing to mentor and work with the female early career colleagues as well, and really reaching out to do that. Best male allies that I've had, and I've had some genuinely fantastic ones, are people who care ultimately about the research. I also think it's important for male allies to be aware of the opportunities that are out there for women. You know, to be aware of schemes like the 100 Black Women Professors now, which is brilliant, by the way. If anyone can sign up for that, please do. It's great.
What I think has helped me is that instead of looking at these titles, as you said, as very scary things to approach, I look at it as an inspirational thing. Oh, this person was able to do this. That means I also can do that as well. And that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable approaching them or talking to them about their experiences. How are you able to do this and that? How could I possibly do something similar? So that has really been very helpful. Having multiple mentors or multiple people to look at is very helpful. So not just relying on mentors in academia, but also looking at mentors in industry as well.
Things that have helped me is doing some sort of training work around public speaking for myself, just to kind of help build my own confidence, being in those environments, being at the conferences, so that I feel like I can, you know, project myself effectively and really communicate the work that I'm doing and what I want to achieve. And having a little pitch, working on that kind of, you know, verbal abstract of your work, so you feel that when you're stuck in this space and you want to do stuff, you have that kind of 2 or 3 sentences that just gets across what you're trying to do and what you want to work on effectively, so that when you're nervous, you don't feel like you're gabbling, because you have a kind of pre-prepared pitch that you can just give.
What has really helped me with resilience is knowing that colleagues who I really admire, who I think are excellent researchers, have experienced so many rejections themselves. And I have mentors who will commonly share with me their experiences of rejection. So knowing that they have been through it, they've been through it more than you have, is really helpful. What I shared with them was the successes I'd had over the past few years, but then there were big gaps. And what I filled in those was my shadow CV, as I called it, all of the rejections. And what I was able to show, it was quite fun pulling it together, but also quite a test of my own resilience at the time, was just how many rejections there were compared to the things that went well. And I think particularly in the era of social media, we risk only seeing other people's successes. So I think as those of us in more senior positions need to share the things that have gone wrong as well.
Try to sort of rethink rejection into feedback and taking that kind of trying to see it constructively. So if I have to rework an article, for example, I pull it out, I rework, and so I have a list of things to do, boxes to tick, to kind of work through to improve my work. And that mental shift, it's taken a lot of work, but it has made a big difference. Although I will share that I do have a very senior colleague who has their downstairs bathroom in their house is literally wallpapered with rejection letters. He's printed out every rejection and has got them stuck in the loo. And I think for him that feels sort of therapeutic somehow. So try that too.
I've had a couple of days where you're kind of annoyed. You know, get it off your chest, tell people that you're annoyed, and then put it aside and leave it for a while, the rejection you've had, and then do something that you are going to get some positive feedback on. The other thing in my mantra, and actually my postdoc Eva always says, it'll be fine. And it eventually will be fine. And my mantra is always never give up. First of all, it's actually finding out what the objectives are, because some people are very happy in those support roles and want to do them, and that's what they want to do. I know there's others that maybe have ambition to use the role to move out to something else. So I think finding out first what they want and then gearing the support to what their goals are. So for example, if a technician I've known wanted to sort of use that as a benchmark or a starting point rather, to then go on and get a PhD. So I've supported them in getting involved in research, being a co-author in publications, maybe helping to do a little teaching in some of the lab practicals, and identifying opportunities. So I think tailoring it to what sort of their goals are it's always been helpful.
Just creating a supportive and empathetic community and really understanding people and, as Karen says, what they want as individuals, and how we can help manage teams to give people the space when they need it to be able to work on various things is really important.
Also making a very conscious effort to ensure that even when we're being inclusive, like I said earlier, they are actually being heard and not just seen. Seeing more people that you can relate to is also very helpful.
I think mentoring is just really so important. We've come across it all the way through this session. I think support with mentoring, having a mentor that looks at the whole of your career and helps you identify areas that that you maybe want to pursue.
The supervisors, as more senior researchers, to really make sure that our PGRs and our ECRs are aware of the available training that is out there and are accessing that training, because there's so much good training at both institutions with really, really practical advice about how to navigate and understand and demystify this whole process of getting the academic job. It's also really important for us to give personal advice on this and to really work with people on the applications. I think some students and other people feel that they're sort of impinging on your time if they ask for help with this process, or they worry about sharing their CV. No, absolutely. For PGRs, ECRs, Nicole, share your covering letter, share your CV, ask for help on what writing samples to put in. You need to get that feedback to really help you sharpen things up for the applications. You need to start those discussions early on, during the PhD, to think about, okay, how do I get myself in the right position? When do I need to think about building my writing profile, getting some articles out? What do I need to have the pipeline? What journals? How can I think about, okay, what else is really important? Should I be prioritizing working on an impact project rather than getting more teaching experience? So it's about trying to understand the specifics of your discipline, of the kind of places you want to be applying.
Sharing experience of being on interview panels and knowing what's being looked for. Getting the papers out, absolutely important. Experience of writing research grants, some teaching experience, all the things that you've seen that you can help the students, ECRs to do to get there, I think is really important.